never been introduced more dramatically
Come
than this.
on.
See, you really know. And I became senator too.
Yes, you
I
did.
went from governor to senator.
Why not?
That's fantastic. I love that. You're adding on to my resume.
Next stop, president.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, next up,
Yeah,
the White House,
When did
Arnold.
you get your tan?
I'm Greek.
He's Greek.
Oh, you're Greek?
Yeah.
And automatically you come with a tan.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Oh,
Self-made.
man, I hate that. When I was in bodybuilding, I sometimes lost bodybuilding competitions because I had no tan.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and
Too
then
much oil, not enough tan.
And then I go to America, and all these bodybuilders had a really great tan. So it's very important to look really good on the stage and have more muscle separation and definition. So you were born with the tan. Lucky you.
But without the muscle.
Yeah. Well,
you and he
always
together
have
be
to-
perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so last night you were at the Palladium. It was sold out. They loved you. How was it for you?
It was fantastic. I had a really great time. It was great questions. The audience was really full of energy. It was really spectacular. And as I was saying to the audience there, that it reminded me somewhat on a time when I came first to London in the 60s, when I was competing in bodybuilding at the Mr. Universe contest. It was the Victoria Palace, which is a theater here in London, where the Mr. Universe contest was always in. And there was like this standing ovation and people screaming, Arnold, 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 because I was kind of the biggest young bodybuilder. I was the only one with 20-inch biceps, and I never have seen anyone with the age of 19 like that. This goes back to 1966. And there was really this great energy in that auditorium. And yesterday I saw that, except there was a big auditorium. That one held, I think, around 2,500 people. Wow. And it was packed. It was sold out. And everyone had their books in the hand, be used for, which was really a great vision just to see that.
Did you just bridge my first question?
Which is what?
Did you bridge my first question?
No, I don't bridge right now. I'll let you know when I bridge.
It's in the book, isn't it?
Exactly.
Bridging
that's right,
is the thing, man.
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you.
Not that sometimes. And I tell you why, because it's very good that you brought that up, because in the old days, I would.
He's bridging again. This is a bridge of the bridge.
No, but I mean, I was doing interviews, and I would go on a talk show, and I would try to promote my movie, let's say Stay Hungry, which was one of my first movies that I did. And they would ask me, so how long have you been working out? When did you start working out? But I wanted to talk about the movie. So I had to smoothly bridge over. So I said, well, I started with 15. I said, but I never thought that my muscles would be so useful in a movie, like in Stay Hungry. When I did this movie, they required that I have a Mr. Universe physique, and there was Sally Fields there and Jeff Bridges, and I started talking about the movie rather than about my workouts and stuff like that. So that was bridging.
So what I do as an interviewer, I do the reverse bridge. And the reverse bridge is so when you come in, you sit down, I talk about your book, I talk about it throughout the whole show, hoping that you're listening. So you're thinking, I don't have to crowbar the book in here. This guy's happy to talk about it. So I do the reverse bridge. You like it?
Very interesting. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life by Arnold Schwarzenegger. No need for the bridge here. And within each of these chapters are also mini tools, because there's the tool shop, and then there's all the shelves with all the little tools on.
That's right,
It's
exactly.
so cool, Arnie.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
And we get lots of people in on this show talking about these books, which is why I know, and I thank your team greatly for including us on your tour. And we know people who are faking it till they make it. And we know books that are simple, and we know books that are clever, and we know there are chances, and people who've never really done anything apart from write self-help books. So what do they know, really? But your book is Route 1. It's Route 1, and it goes there, and it's brilliant. And it's reverse engineered because these are tools you've discovered. You didn't have them in the first place. They evolved throughout your life, from being a little boy to being where you are now, sitting in front of me at the age of 76. But what's amazing about them is that you are the proof in the pudding, because you've lived a life, and these tools work because you're here today.
Well, I tell you, I'm not the person that studies. I never studied the self-help books or motivational books and all of that stuff. I never read one as far as that goes. And the tools that I'm talking about there is just simply stuff that I've learned, like you said, over the years that worked for me, how I became a bodybuilding champion, Then it worked to get into show business and become a leading man in show business, where everyone said it's impossible. You would never be able to do that. And then when I said it's impossible to go and become governor, I did that. And so I learned along the way, what is it that made me successful? How important it is to have a clear vision, for instance, and to have a dream that you can chase.
Yeah.
Because then the work that you have to do becomes much more fun.
Yeah.
Because remember that 78% of the people don't love their work. They hate their work. And so this is an America statistic. And so I feel bad for those people, and that's because they have no direction. They don't really have a goal, a specific goal that they're striving towards. So I always had a goal, very clear goal, and that's why it was always fun for me to work out 5 hours a day, or to train for the movies and the rehearsal, to do the stunt practice and the accent removal classes and all of the kind of stuff that you had to do, that I had to do in order to get into the movies and to work my ass off on that. And also, to run for governor and to learn all kinds of new things about policy and politics and stuff that I did not know. And this is why I won the governorship. It's the same rules I've used over and over. And so I wanted to kind of like put those rules together and those tools and put it in a book. And I never really thought that I'm going to write a motivational book. It was just that people, after my speeches around the world, they said, why don't you do a book on this? This is such wonderful motivation that they give to the kids. Write a book. And so eventually they convinced me and they wrote this book.
Yeah, rules equal tools. And the absence of rules and tools, well, then they probably equal fools. I would go as far as to say that. You talk about sacrifice. And you talk about discipline. You've been asked about this. And you said in the first half of your life, there was no sacrifice. There was no need for discipline because you had nothing to sacrifice and you were loving everything you were doing anyway. So there was no need for discipline either. And obviously, since, life changes and that's different. You talk about that in the book. The first chapter in the book, the first tool for life is have a clear vision. It's really interesting, this, because it can go for you and it can't go against you, but you can get it wrong. And Arnold has experienced both these things. So he had a clear vision as a child of what he wanted to do. And that can't be wrong because that's your vision. That doesn't exist in the world. You cannot get that wrong. People can tell you it's wrong, but it's not wrong because it's you're the author of that. However, you can also have a vision of something that exists, which can be wrong. For example, London being as you envisioned it to be, but Los Angeles not being as you envisioned it to be. That was interesting.
Yeah, well, it was very interesting because I had my impression of what I've read and what I've heard and what I saw in documentaries was, when I thought about America, was like high rises everywhere and 6-lane highways and all this stuff. What it was, certain places, but not everywhere. So when I went to Venice, California, there were no high rises. In California, they don't build really high rises. It's because of the earthquakes. So they're building much flatter and much lower structures, and most of them are built out of wood and not out of brick and out of mortar and out of bricks and stuff like that. So it was quite different. I felt it was like little. The houses were little, the buildings were little, and I said, where is this? Where are those high rises? Where are the Empire State Buildings? Well, when I then went to New York, there I saw it, of course. Plenty of it.
That's where it is.
Yeah, exactly, but not in Venice, California, where Gold's Gym was. And I also thought that the gyms would have, carpeting and they would have chrome equipment and all this. And there was this Gold's Gym that had kind of like this crude equipment that was made by Joe Gold, and it was like black and steel. The floor was cement. Then I walked around barefoot in the cement floor, and it was just, everything was much more rough and quite different than what I envisioned.
And Muscle Beach was closed.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Muscle Beach was closed, but now Venice Beach became kind of the new place for bodybuilders to hang out. They built a weightlifting platform in Venice, and so we worked out there to get a tan at the same time. And to do my second workout was always on Venice Beach. But Muscle Beach, you're right, in the late 50s, early 60s, they closed that.
Yeah.
And but that was really the place to be in the 50s and 60s.
It's open again now, we must point out. And Gold's Gym now does look like Arnold thought it may have looked back then.
Now it does.
Yes, it does. It's massive now. It's like a shopping mall.
Now it has more modern machines, and there's also the old machines, but more modern machines now.
And you still go there all the time.
I still go
there. On your bike.
Every day.
It's amazing,
every
man.
day. Yeah,
I
go
love
down
it.
the bike. Yeah, but it's you know, I mean, I'm addicted to working
I know.
out because it's kind of feels so good. And what's interesting is I always tell people, and I talk about this in the book, that when you get up in the morning, I always say to people, don't think.
Yeah.
Just get up in the morning and do your exercises.
No decisions.
You know, don't start thinking about should I, shouldn't I, and any of those kind of things. Just go and do it. And that's what I do. I go basically. I get up in the morning. I feed the animals, and I have 3 dogs. I have the 2 miniature, 1 miniature pony and 1 miniature donkey, and then I have a pig.
Yes.
So I feed the animals. Then I get on a bike. I ride down to the gym. I work out for 45 minutes. I ride back. So when I ride down to the gym, it is almost kind of like black and white, the what I see.
Yeah, I get it.
And because we are not yet really happy.
Energized.
We're not with the program, right?
Yeah.
But after you work out, and after the bike ride back, all of a sudden everything turns to color. It's like we're going from a black and white movie to a color movie. And this is why I always tell people, working out is not just to get a muscular body.
Yeah.
It's not just winning Mr. Olympia. It's not just, looking like a He-Man on the beach and stuff like that. It's just fantastic what it feels like psychologically.
Yeah.
Because, there's kind of chemicals shoot into the brain, and it starts making you feel good, and the whole day feels better.
Yeah.
So this is why I always recommend to people, work out every day. And when you tell me that you don't have time, I go in the book through the hours.
Yes.
I say, well, the day is 24 hours.
Yes.
So if you sleep 6 hours, you have 18 hours left.
Yes.
We work on average of around 10 hours a day, so you have still 8 hours left. So don't tell me that you don't have time to work out
and
an
then
hour
you grab
a day.
their phone and look at their screen time.
That's right, screen time. And then you see there's 6 hours or 8 hours of screen time on that.
And we are a laboratory. So that we need to fire up the lab as early as we can in the morning. Well begun is half done. If you don't have your own agenda by breakfast, you're going to be working to somebody else's agenda by lunchtime.
Right.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Arnie, thank you for saying yes to the show. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
I love it. I've heard about your show, and I was really looking forward to coming on here and to talk to you, not just about the book, but to just talk to you, because you have a great energy. And I remember on the way over here, I was tuning into your show, right? And I said to myself, everything that I heard about your show is true.
Hey.
You have this great energy and enthusiasm, and this is what it's all about. So you have enthusiasm because you love what you're doing, and you love what you're doing because you envision yourself as a radio host, as a host and that talks to people and entertains people with your stuff, right? So this is why you have a good time, and this is what I'm talking about in the book also, is you got to find something that you're passionate about, because then you have a good time. No matter how hard the work is, you will have a good time.
We're so lucky, aren't we, to have found that?
Yes, absolutely.
I was going to talk to you about your kids, because you were born hungry in so many ways. Not specifically with food. You could have done with more meat on the table. You talk about that, but you were born hungry. You wanted to get out of Austria. You wanted to get to America. You had London as a waypoint. You had various people on the way that helped you, which is why you say none of us are really self-made. You know what it means, but you sort of don't know what it means. How if people who listen to this show, we have a great demographic, great ABC One kind of listenership. Their kids may not be as hungry as we were when we were kids. What advice do you have for them? How have you been with your children?
Well, I always told my children over the years, you got to find your passion. And as soon as you find your passion, then you will be hungry to chase that dream, that vision.
Yeah.
And like, for instance, my son, Patrick, he wanted to be a businessman. So he took business classes in school. He got his degree in business. And so now he's investing money. He's building an empire himself. And at the same time, he's following his passion as an actor.
Yeah.
And so he's doing terrific as an actor, and he's climbing the ladder. And every time I get together with Patrick, he is enthusiastic about it, and he's full of energy about it, because he's chasing something specifically. So this is, to me, the most important thing I always tell people and kids. They get off the phone, get off the iPad, get off the computer and all those machines, and just start thinking about what is it that you really want to accomplish in life. Because there's so many kids, when you ask them, I said, if this bottle it floats up on the beach and Ginny comes out and says, "Give me your dreams, and I will make them a reality." What is it? They cannot tell you. They say, "Well," I say, "Well, what do you mean? You must have a dream. You must have a way." They don't. So then you go into life, and through life, into emptiness. And I compare this in the book. This is like having the best airplane in the world. But if the pilot does not know where he's going, eventually he's going to go and crash somewhere.
Yeah.
He's going to run out of fuel, and he's going to crash because he does not know where to go. And the same is with life. People crash. People, they are in their 40s and all of a sudden they're unhappy because they don't know what they're chasing and what they're going after. So what this book basically does is, it's not for people just that want to be Mr. Olympia or want to be a movie star or a governor or a senator, whatever it is. Just people that want to improve a little bit.
Yeah.
To be a little happier
Yep.
with their life,
Bit
because
happier.
this is what I'm trying to do in this book, is just to make the ordinary person kind of feel good about themselves and not kind of like when they get up in the morning, it's all dark and it's depressing. I hate my job. I have to go to work because I have to make a living. No, just let's figure out a way of making you happier and making you feel good about yourself. And everyone can do that.
If you chase happy, it will run away. If you pursue anything, it will run away. If you consume things, you become it. But if you can always be a bit happier. You can't always be happy, but you can be happier always, which is really important. Our version of your pilot would be, if you don't know where you want to go, any road will take you there. And you don't want to go on any road. You want to go on your road, or you want to have an intended road. If you end up being on another road in the end, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's a consequence of an initial target of where you want to go. Chapter 3 in the book, work your ass off. Okay. I like the way you say it. Can you just say work your ass off for us?
Work your ass off.
It's just the best. We've all been trying to do it, but we start with the V. Work your, but it's not. You've got a W then a V of work.
Well, I mean, however,
I love
just
it.
remember,
Work
I
your
should
ass
get my money back for my from my accent removal coach.
I know, it's so funny.
Exactly. Yeah.
My name's Evans. Can you say work your ass off, Evans?
Work your ass off, Evans.
Thank you very much.
So I just so you know, when I
Oh, by the way, message received and understood.
when I got into working in Hollywood,
Yes.
I had to take this accent removal
Which is
classes.
hilarious.
It's hilarious. So I ran around, because we're talking about the W and the V.
Yeah.
Because we in Germany, we don't have a W, like wine.
Yeah.
So we say Wein.
Yeah.
Just like with a V.
Why not?
Even though we spell it with a W, but I mean, it's a
Volkswagen.
Exactly, Volkswagen, exactly,
Yeah.
Wagen, yeah. So, I mean, and so I had to run around and keep saying the line, "A fine wine grows on a vine." A fine wine grows on a vine.
Right.
So over and over
Was this
and over. I was
pre-Conan?
saying, this is way pre-Conan.
Whoa.
Absolutely, yes. This is in the 70s when I hired this guy, Robert Easton was his name. He was like a speech coach,
Right.
an accent removal coach, and he also taught actors how to have an accent for a movie. And so the other line I remember was like, "The sink is made out of zinc." Because we don't have the vibrating Z sound, like a zoo or zinc. So we had to kind of say, because we just said that the sink is made out of zinc.
I think the sink is made out of zinc.
Exactly. That's
Oh,
right.
dear.
It's also sink, exactly. Or 3 instead of 3. It's
a nightmare for you, Arnie.
It was a nightmare. So I had to say 3,333 and 1/3.
Control round of applause for that. Come on, control round of applause. That took a lot of effort. Yes, Arnold.
Who are these people?
I don't know. I think they're just passing through.
Oh, yeah. That's unbelievable.
It's pretty good, man.
Yes.
In the chapter Work Your Ass Off, you recount a story from your good pal, Muhammad Ali, who was a friend of yours.
Right.
And you're working out, Arnie's working out with him, and Arnie says, don't you count your reps? And Ali says, not until it begins to hurt. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had this unbelievable waistline, and not only a slim waistline, but when he got punched, remember in boxing, they hit you below, right? I mean, they go upstairs, down, what they call
They go
upstairs,
low.
downstairs, upstairs, downstairs. So they hit you low, to kind of make you run out of breath and
Yeah.
all this. And so he had to kind of take a lot of punishment. Remember the fight, George Foreman against Ali?
Yeah.
How many times Foreman hit him in the waist, and he flexed his abs, and he could sustain the punishment. But how did he get there? So I asked him, I said, so how many reps do you do? I mean, we in bodybuilding, we do 1,000 reps a day. How many do you do? And he said to me, he says, I don't stop counting. I don't start counting until it hurts. Wow. So that to me said everything about his training.
Yeah.
Because we in bodybuilding also have such a thing as kind of like do your reps until it burns, until it hurts, until failure. And then force out another few reps.
Yeah.
Because that's when it grows. That's when your muscle grows. When you force out with the
When you
forced
rip
reps.
it.
When you force reps, exactly. And so what I want to make people understand is this is not just in bodybuilding or in any training for any sport. Physically, in order to really grow and to go to perfection, is you have to go through the pain period and you have to go through the torture. But the mind is the same way.
Yeah.
The more we take our mind through torture, and the more you can sustain punishment, and the more misery you can sustain, the stronger you will get and the stronger your character will get. And so this is why I always tell people there will be moments in life where you will struggle. Yeah. There will be moments in life where you will cry. There will be moments of life where you kind of just say, why do I have to go through this? But go through it, because it only will make you stronger. It's like Nietzsche said, that what does not kill you will make you stronger.
Yeah.
And I've seen it over and over, and this is why I talk in my book about failure, because yes, failure is painful. Yes, we suffer through it when you lose a competition or when something goes wrong with you in your personal life and you're screwed up or whatever it is, you're down on the ground, but you have to go and get up again.
Yeah.
Losers stay down, but winners always get up, dust themselves off and keep going. And you go through these painful periods, but it will make you strong in the end. You learn from your mistakes. You learn from your losses. That is an important message that I mentioned in the book also.
Yeah. So my favorite version of that, along with yours, is the hard way is hard, but the easy way ends up being harder. Just go hard.
That's right. Absolutely. There's no shortcut. That's why I say work your ass off.
Yeah.
Because that's what it takes. You have to work. We have 24 hours a day, and they can work. When I went to America in bodybuilding, there was no money. Yeah. It was not like football or soccer or tennis or golf or baseball
movies,
or something like that. We had to kind of like make a living. So I was out there, imagine, I was working out 5 hours a day, and I was working construction work, and at the same time, I went to school, I went to college. And at the same time at night, I went to acting class.
Yeah.
So I was doing everything. And, I loved it because I knew where I was going. Mm-hmm. I knew my acting classes would eventually take me to acting and being a leading man and all of this stuff. So I loved doing all this work. But for me, the day was literally 24 hours a day. And just mercilessly, I would go after it and just chase my dreams.
Yeah, and people who don't know, and I don't want to preach, I'm no one to preach at all. I'm never going to throw stones because I've lived in a glass house most of my life. But if you go, lots of people think if you go and have a workout, you go for a walk, obviously then you're going to be tired, you're going to need to rest. It's the opposite. Energy begets energy. The more energy you use, the more energy you then seem to have from somewhere else. They say you get what you give, but you don't get it back. You just get more of it to give again.
That's right. Absolutely, yeah. And so this is why I talk about it in the book is how can you become more successful? How can you become more motivated and go after your goals? I mean, it's like I mentioned a story about this guy, Hillary, right, that climbed Mount Everest, the first guy to climb Mount Everest. And when he was up on the top, they asked him, I said, what was it like being on top and finally to reach this peak? And he said, I looked around and I saw another peak. Yeah. And I immediately started making a plan on how to climb that peak.
Yeah.
So that's what it is about. The higher up you go, the more opportunities you see, and the more you get motivated then to go and climb that again. Yeah. And so to me, when I was up there in bodybuilding on top, I said to myself, okay, now I have a chance. I've gotten a certain kind of a name and reputation and stuff like that. I'm going to go now after acting. So I saw that as the new peak.
Yeah.
And I chased after that, even though everyone said, oh, your accent will never work. You will never become a leading man. Your name is too long. Your body is too big. I mean, they had all kinds of excuses.
Yeah.
Why not? But I didn't listen to the naysayer. And that's one of the things I talk about in the book. Don't listen to the naysayers.
Yeah.
There's enough people out there in the world that will always try to discourage you and say, it will never happen.
Yeah.
This is impossible and all this. But I said, like Mandela always said, everything is always impossible until someone does it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel. I can be the first one that breaks this new ground and goes out and does it. So I became the first guy that had an accent and that made it in the movie business, and it made it big.
What I love about your naysayer section in the book is obviously, you could say, well, that's route one, naysayers, don't listen to the begrudgers, fudge the begrudgers, whatever. But then Arnie gives it the twist. And this is why the book is brilliant. Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's brilliant because then Arnie goes on to say, but most of all, don't listen to the biggest naysayer of all, which is yourself.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I talk about that there's people that make a plan and they say, I want to go and get into movies. And then they say, and if this doesn't work out, I have a plan B. So I said, well, wait a minute, hold it. I said, if you have already all the naysayers out there that says you would never make it into the movies, and now you say, if I don't make it, I have a plan B, that means that you're doubting yourself. That is the most dangerous thing of all. It's not the other people saying no and you can't make it. You yourself are doubting. That is a real attack on your goal.
Yeah.
And so be very, very careful with that, because it's much better not to have a plan B and to just say, I'm going to go and execute plan A.
Yeah.
And I know 100% that I can do that. I have a very clear vision. Yes, I have to work my ass off. Yes, I will fail many times on the way to get there, but I will get there.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the way I felt. I knew that I could be another Clint Eastwood or another Charles Bronson. These were the big guys in the 70s, right? So I was kind of like idolizing them. And Reg Park, British bodybuilder that was doing Hercules movies.
Ledge Park, we
Reg
call him.
Park, yeah, exactly. Ledge Park. Yeah. But I mean, Reg Park, he was like my idol.
Yeah.
And so, I wanted to be, so I saw this very clearly, but I never really felt that I should have a plan B. As a matter of fact, I talk about an incident in there where they came to me after I started business in California and all that, and I became known in the bodybuilding world and fitness world as a guy with brains and with the business knowledge. They offered me to be the manager of a gymnasium chain in California. And they offered me $200,000 back in the 70s.
Wow.
Now think about how much money that is,
Loads.
right? I turned it down. The reason why I turned it down is because I said to myself, my dream is to become a leading man in movies. And if I start working in the gymnasium chain 10, 12 hours a day, I would not have the time to train to become the greatest bodybuilder of all time, nor will I have time to go and take my acting classes and stunt classes and accent removal classes and speech classes and all of those kind of things. So this would be actually in my way, and I would not be able to reach my goal. So I turned it down, and they could not believe it until 10 years later. After I've done Conan and after I started getting $1 million a movie, they said, you had a vision. I mean, that you turned down $200,000 because you knew eventually you're going to get $1 million and $5 million and $10 million and $20 million for a movie.
Wow.
So this
Keep
is
going.
this is it's amazing because the standard changed. In the 70s, $1 million was the highest paid. There was like Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson, Marlon Brando. These were the guys, Warren Beatty maybe, that got $1 million. So this was my goal. But then by the time I got there, then all of a sudden the salary was $10 million.
Yeah.
So I remember that Sly was getting $10 million, for Rocky 2. And then I said, oh, this is a new goal. I have to go and get $10 million. So now by that time, I was already getting $1 million and $1.5 million and $2 million a movie. but the new goal was 10 million.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got 10 million, then the new goal was 20 because now guys were getting 20.
Yeah.
So I was kind of a little bit behind, but eventually I caught up, and then eventually I got more money than anyone else. I got the $30 million for Batman and Robin and for other movies at a certain point, and points and grosses, participation, and all of those kind of things. So I reached all my goals and went beyond my goals.
Yeah.
It was really fantastic. So it just shows you that if you stay in there, and if you fight it out and battle it out, and if you're willing, to fail and to just get up again and to dust yourself off and to go after it, it can be done.
Yeah. And the twin story, we don't have time for the twin story now, but the twins negotiation is another amazing negotiation, which is tear up the real book. Let's go again. Let's go all in. Venshon Denshon. I'd never done a comedy before. It was a risk anyway, so let's take a risk financially. And, well, the rest is history.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't do deals like that in Hollywood anymore, and it's all down to... He invented them, and you also put pay to them in a way, didn't you, I suppose? Right. Where should we go next? Arnie. A vision. I had a vision for this interview. I think you have to have a vision for the interview. You have a vision for the book. One of the things I wanted to ask you in the interview is I originated 10 years ago a writing competition for children. Mm-hmm. And I called it 500 words. Right? So they have to write a story in 500 words or fewer. And we put it out to schools in the UK, and they loved it. And then the Queen Camilla, she became my partner, right? So she's the head judge currently in that competition. Mm-hmm. And that's the Queen and I can say this because it's true, right? The Queen and I want to give this competition to you to start in the US. Would you consider doing that?
Yes, I will look into it right away, sure. If it works really well here,
it
we
works.
will try it.
It's been going for 10 years. We have millions of kids that have entered. Some kids who entered the first are now professional writers.
And for what age is that?
2 categories. It's 5 to 8 and 8 to 13.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. And
It's
the stories
fantastic
are great.
Because I tell you why, because I have one of the biggest after-school programs
I know.
in the United States.
I know.
And so we are like in 50-some cities all over the United States, and we reach out to like 150,000 year students. And we have, in California, literally every school has after-school programs. And so I think it would be a big hit. I would try that. I would go and look into it right away.
The Queen would like to meet you to talk about it.
Okay.
And that is official from the palace.
Yeah, no.
Is
thank
that
you.
is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It was
Absolutely.
Oprah or you, or Oprah and you. You decide.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need Oprah for that.
Okay.
I've so far done all my moves without Oprah, even though I have to say that I'm a big admirer.
I was going to say, not many people can say, I don't need Oprah. Can I just tell you, Arnie, for the record, I do need Oprah. I need all the Oprah and all the Arnie I can get. So
no, but I admire her.
Yeah.
I'm a big admirer because remember, I know her since 1979.
She's amazing. You were on her show really early on.
In 1979, I was on her show when she asked me, do you think anyone can become great? Do you think anyone can become successful? I mean, what's the trick to become successful? She asked me.
Yeah.
And she just couldn't believe it that I was becoming successful. Yeah. And I told her, I said, you can become successful. You can have your own show and all this stuff. And sure enough, she moved to Chicago and had her own show, the Oprah Winfrey Show, and became huge.
Yeah.
And very, very popular.
Not a dissimilar mindset.
No. And which was great because as a black woman, you're not only being black, but also being a woman to go and have the #1 show.
Yeah.
It meant doubly as much because it was it just showed how talented she was and how well read she was and what a great personality she had. And she also was a good businesswoman.
Amazing. I mean, you were talking about your millions before. You made your first million from real estate, didn't you?
Real estate, yeah. I didn't want to rely on show business because one of the things that happens to a lot of actors, as you know, is they have to take shitty roles in the beginning. They come to you, and I remember they came to me and says, "Do you want to play this bouncer?" I said, "No, I don't want to play a bouncer." "Well, there's another part I have for you where you can play a wrestler." I said, "I have no interest in playing a wrestler." I said, I want to become a leading man, not just to be an actor, character actor, something like that. And so I was able to do that because I already at that point made money from real estate. I bought an apartment building and a 6-unit apartment building, and then a had a profit of $200,000 after I sold it. I didn't take the money and the profit. I rolled it up to a bigger unit, to a 12-unit apartment building. And then you don't have to pay the taxes because you just roll it over and you don't take the money.
Yeah.
And then from there, the 36-unit apartment building, and it got bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, I had hundreds of apartments all over Los Angeles.
Wow.
Right? So I made my first millions from real estate, office buildings, apartment buildings, and so on. And so I could get into movies and pick and choose what I wanted to do. So it was usually just mostly leading characters in streets of San Francisco, playing a guest starring role, or the starring role in a movie with Kirk Douglas and Anne Margaret, the villain, or the Jane Mansfield story where I played Mickey Haggerty, the bodybuilder, and then Conan the Barbarian. And so it was very quickly I got up there to the big international movie.
Yeah, and that independence, that financial independence, if you don't need the money going forward and your decisions aren't money based, often the money then follows because other people who are trying to negotiate with you have to make it about the money, but you don't care about the money. So the only thing they can do is offer you more money.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why I didn't really care when someone said, well, we only have so much money in the budget and all this. I said, it's irrelevant. This is a great career builder.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this part. And this is how I always approached it. It was always about what is the quality. Because I said to myself, if you deliver the quality, then the money will follow. Never make money your number one objective and your number one goal.
Yeah.
Always make quality and reaching out and doing something for the people. I wanted to entertain people. My goal in show business was always, just like in bodybuilding, to go and be appealing to the entire world.
Yeah.
So when I was competing in bodybuilding, it didn't matter if I was competing in India or if I was competing in South Africa or if I was competing in Europe. I wanted to win. And the same was with the movies. I never wanted to make political movies. I always wanted to make movies that play well in the Middle East, that play well in Africa, they play well in Australia, in Europe, in America, everywhere around the world, because the world is the marketplace. And that was the bottom line. And that's why my action movies penetrated through all of that and became really popular worldwide in all of the countries.
And you wrote the playbook, because now they do say, Tom Hanks sells a movie, he gets paid as much to sell these movies as B&M, so does Tom Cruise. But you wrote that book, man.
Well, because I remember when I was telling them that I want to go to 10 different countries to sell Conan the Barbarian, they said to me, that's ludicrous. No actor ever wants to go to those countries. We send them usually to the Cannes film festivals or to London or to Rome.
Maybe,
and that's it.
Maybe Japan.
Maybe, yes, maybe. And maybe sometimes to Germany, because America, Japan, and Germany were the three biggest markets.
Right.
So they did that. But to go to 10 countries, I said, well, what about Sweden? What about Holland? What about Italy? What about Spain? And they said, no, normally actors never want to go. I said, well, I want to go. I said, because the world is the marketplace. We got to go and really sell those movies. They said, well, they don't really do well. I said, because they don't do well because you don't send the actors there. You send the actors to Germany and to Japan and to America, and that's it.
And they don't want to go either, do they?
No, because they say, I don't want to sell. I'm an artist. I create the art. There's such bullshit, right? It's like this nonsense. You got to go and sell. You got to let the people know that there's this great movie coming out, whatever the movie is, or a book, or whatever you're selling. You got to go and let the people know. That's why I have this chapter in the book called Sell, Sell.
And you're doing the same with the book, and that's why you're here. And I'm so grateful. I can't thank you enough for including us in the tour. You talk about saying no to that gym management. And you said that in a heartbeat. You didn't even have to think about that, because you'd made a decision, a mission statement about where you wanted to be, which gave you all the answers to all the questions, all the yeses, all the nos. If it gets me closer, it's a yes. If it doesn't get me closer, it's a no. It literally is as simple as that.
That's right. Yeah, but that's why I say it is important to have a goal.
Yeah.
Because now you say to yourself, does this fit into this goal or does it not?
Yeah.
You don't kind of waffle around and you don't kind of like debate over it and maybe I should do it, maybe I shouldn't do it. To me, it is not a difficult decision to make.
But it can be tempting and it can be flattering.
Yeah, Absolutely can be tempting, but again, it depends. To me, the money was not the objective. The objective was to reach my goal.
Yeah.
And I felt if I reach my goal, I will make money anyway.
Yeah.
So this is why, to me, the most important thing was for me to reach my goal and to always stay focused every day and to make decisions that would get me closer to my goal and to reach this and to make my dream become a reality.
Right, Arnie, you reading your own book, okay? So imagine somebody else has written it and you're reading it. Chapter 2, Never Think Small, okay? The Netflix documentary was awesome. Athlete, actor, American, and now you're sort of an activist. If it has to begin with A, we'll go activist, we'll go guy who's going to be useful. Obviously, we all want you to be the next president. Obviously, you can't be because of the Constitution. But you've never let anything like that stop you before.
That's right. But I mean, I said to myself, I have accomplished everything because of America.
Uh-huh.
So why would I complain about and be
The
upset about this
Constitution.
one
Fair enough.
because
That's
of
a
this
good answer.
one kind of a thing that I can't do?
It's a good answer.
And so I'm perfectly fine with that. And I always tell everyone in America, all the political leaders, Democrats and Republicans alike, if they ever need anything from me, I'm always there.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what party it is, because I want to serve the American people.
Yep.
No matter what it is, if it's environmental issues, or if it is healthcare issues, education issues, whatever it is, or fair elections, good political practice, all of those kind of things. Like, for instance, to give you an example, in America we have sometimes situations where the conservatives don't want to allow blacks the access to vote. Well, that really pisses me off, right? Because I'm a person that feels that if not everyone participates in the voting process, then we can never have a really fair and good election. So this is why I want to make sure. So I donated, millions of dollars to open more voting booths in the South, where they closed down some of the voting booths. So I get involved in those things because I'm passionate about it. As an American, I want to make sure that everyone has the right to vote. Yeah. So those are the kind of things I get involved with, if it's education issues or if it's the voting rights issues or whatever it is. So I want to make sure that everyone has a fair chance.
Yeah, well, politically, people are left or right or somewhere in between. But from a day-to-day point of view, we are north to south. And we're always having to be people. We're only sometimes having to be political. And that's what a lot of politicians don't understand. We're always living. We're sometimes thinking politically. They got to meet us all in the middle. So, and I know that's your playbook again. And I also know that during the pandemic and various other issues, people said, can you help us front this campaign to raise money? And you said, well, the first thing I'm going to do, I can't front it unless I donate, unless I write a check out. You've written big checks for people, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
Minutes later.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been involved in a lot of things where I donated, millions and millions of dollars. I just recently did it again, for the actors' strike, when they called me and they said, there's a lot of actors that are suffering because of this strike, and they cannot make their rent payment or their car payment or the school payments for the children. So I donated $1 million to those people. So, it's right along with other actors that donated money.
You did the same with masks in COVID as well, didn't you?
Yeah, with COVID, I remember that everyone was running around saying, we cannot get the masks, we cannot get the gloves, we cannot get the ventilators, we cannot find this and that and all that stuff. I said, that's nonsense. You guys are stupid. If you cannot find it, it's out there on the market. And I got in touch with people that I had contact with, and sure, within a week, we bought the stuff. So I put in $1 million, and I asked other actors to put in $1 million. We raised $8.5 million in no time, and we got this gear. We got the ventilators and everything, distributed it to the hospitals in Los Angeles that didn't have it, and the governor of California and the president was still running around and says, we can't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so, so I get involved in those things, but it has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican, left or right, because remember one thing what Eisenhower said.
Come.
Eisenhower said that politics is like the road. It's like the left and the right is the gutter, and the center is drivable.
Right.
That's exactly the way it is in politics. The center is where the action is. This is why I always tell people in the United States, I said, don't fight all the time. Get together. because the right has great ideas, the left has great ideas. If you mesh this kind of two great ideas together and meet in the middle, great stuff can happen.
Yeah.
So then we can have true immigration reform. We can have true healthcare reform. We can really straighten out and not have this crazy debt of $35 trillion debt in America. So you got to solve all those problems, guys. You can't just keep arguing and not solving those problems.
It's always been the same. 1,000 years ago in the year 1200, Rumi, the poet, he said, "There is a field beyond right and wrong, and I will meet you in that field." Beyond right and wrong.
It's a great line.
It's beautiful.
I love it.
I wonder if people will be reading your book in 1,000 years' time. I think they might, because Marcus Aurelius' Meditations is 2,000 years old.
Can you believe that? But it just shows to you that if you give something that really makes sense, and that really helps people, that it has a life on its own. It's just people will keep picking it up and reading it, because what was a problem on how to get your goals achieved 500 years ago is the same today.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. You still have to have a clear vision. You still have to go and chase that. And Marcus Aurelius had really some great points in his book. I mean, I read it. It was like fantastic.
I love it. I read it all the time.
Yeah.
There's Tao Te Ching. Arnie, our time is up. You have not disappointed, my friend. Thank you so much.
Can I not stay an extra 5 hours?
No, I'm sorry. We've got to play some rock and roll is what we've got to do.
All right, throw me out. Go ahead.
Have the best time at the Royal Albert Hall
Thank
tonight.
you very much. Thank you. I love the interview. You have great energy. You guys are all fantastic in here in this studio. I'm so happy I decided to come by here. Chris, keep up the great work, okay?
Will do.
And I promise you, I'll be back.
Oh, come on.